I love drinking from the skulls of my victims. Salutations, mortal beings! Gothic Gaming Geek here to bring you more gaming discussions. Why? Because I'm bored. That being said, what shall we be talking about today? Well, today we asked the question, do video games need to follow a formula in order to be good? Speaking of questions, I'm sure there are those of you wondering if I'm non-binary or if I'm just a man who really likes wearing makeup. The answer is yes. So, to get it out of the way, do I think that games need to follow a formula in order to be good? Absolutely fucking not. Then again, social norms obviously mean absolutely nothing to me, so of course I would say something like that. Anyway, what brought this about is the fact that there was some yahoo in my comments section on one of my videos calling out the Sonic Frontiers hate mob, who had the gall to be like, Sonic games need to follow a formula. An open world Sonic game simply does not work. Honey, one, it's not an open world game, it's an open zone game, get it right. And two, could you imagine if every Sonic game was exactly the same as the last? That would get pretty fucking stale, I think. It's the reason people keep shitting on Call of Duty, is because every game pretty much amounts to the same thing, which is shooting people till they die from it. Like, okay, every Sonic game does not need to be the exact same fucking game. If Sonic holds a sword every once in a while, doesn't matter. If Sonic turns into a wolf, doesn't matter. If Sonic drives a fucking car instead of running with his feet, that doesn't matter either. What matters is if the game's fucking fun. And you know what? In a lot of cases, those games are fun. There's times where they're not, but the changes made have absolutely nothing to do with it. It's just the execution. That's all that matters. And people apply this logic to so many things, and it's fucking stupid in my opinion. Now, if you don't like these games because you have, like, genuine problems with them, I have no problem with that. But if you hate, say, Crash of the Titans because it's a beat-em-up and not a platformer, I'm not gonna take you seriously. Now, you're probably not gonna take me seriously either, but it's just really ignorant to me to be like, oh, this game is not exactly the same as another game in the series, therefore it's not good. I don't even know how that logic comes about. Now, there are cases where disappointment is absolutely justified, like when people were waiting fucking years for a new Banjo-Kazooie game and Microsoft gave them a fucking car-building simulator. Now, I don't even think that game's bad, I actually think it's quite innovative. And you'd think over time people would have came to appreciate it for what it did, but no. People still hold a grudge against that game, and it's crazy to me, because I played that game and it really didn't bother me. Now granted, I knew what I was getting into going in, so none of it bothered me, but, you know, I wasn't expecting to enjoy that game as much as I did. It had a really unique idea. Probably should have just been put into a different game though. But, like, since then, there has not been a single other game like that. And I hate it, because it was such a good idea. And it was just put into the wrong game. But then there are games that are just flat out misunderstood. Like, this is going to be controversial, Resident Evil 6, for example. Now, I know I just got done saying that, you know, Nuts and Bolts being a direct sequel wasn't good, but in the case of Resident Evil 6, like, it hadn't really been that long since the last Resident Evil game, so even if there were people disappointed that 6 was an action game, they wouldn't have probably wouldn't have had to wait that long for the next game. And sure enough, Resident Evil 7 was a genuine horror game. But yeah, I really didn't think Resident Evil 6 was that bad. I honestly thought it was pretty good. Like, sure, it's not a traditional Resident Evil game, but it was a pretty fun action game. Granted, I grew up on the Resident Evil movies, and that was like my first exposure to Resident Evil, so that's kinda just what I thought Resident Evil was. To be fair, so maybe it just invokes my nostalgia for those movies, but I learned pretty quickly what Resident Evil actually was, and warmed up to it pretty quick. I love all the Resident Evil games, for the most part. Except for Operation Raccoon City, that one wasn't that good. But most of the others, I'm okay with. Oh, and Survivor wasn't that good either, but... Other than a few stragglers that aren't that great, for the most part, I like all the main series Resident Evils. But that's just my opinion. And then there's Star Fox Adventures. This one is just a tragedy. Because it started off as its own standalone game called Dinosaur Planet. And if they had stuck to their guns on that, people probably would have looked at this as a, hidden gem. And maybe it would have even eventually gotten a sequel. I'm not saying that it would have been popular. It probably would have went under the radar. The fact that the game is more well known is because it's a Star Fox game, but that's also the reason people don't like it. Because being a direct sequel to Star Fox 64, people expected more Star Fox 64, and instead what they got was a Zelda clone. A pretty decent Zelda clone, mind you, but nobody cared. They just cared that it wasn't a traditional Star Fox game. And boy, is that just no good. Ugh. Sucks though, because I actually quite liked it. Thought it was a pretty good Zelda clone. I don't know, it just seems like a very closed-minded way of thinking to me. Like, there's people who hate Castlevania Lords of Shadow, right? Because it's a God of War clone and not a traditional Castlevania. But then Symphony of the Night gets away with being different. Why is it that some games it's okay and others it's not? Like, I don't get it. Maybe there's other reasons people hate Lords of Shadow, but to me, it just looks like they hate it because it's different. And same applies to, like, Curse of Darkness. Like, what the hell? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. In fact, I know I am. Okay, fucking look at me. Obviously. I ain't normal. But still drives me nuts, though. Because there's so many games that I love and enjoy, and other people hate them because what? Because they're not like the game that came before? So what? Like, if you have genuine problems with these games outside of just it's different, that's fine. I got no problem with that. But if you're out here being like, oh, Tomb Raider 2013 sucks ass because it's nothing like the PS1 games. Like, suck it. Okay? Now, I know someone, okay? Kitty Meowser Gaming. Fellow YouTuber. Friend of mine on YouTube. She does not enjoy the new Tomb Raider games very much. But she has, like, genuine reasons for not liking them that much. Like, genuine, valid reasons. Outside of just, oh, it's not the Tomb Raider I grew up with. I'm sure that's part of it. That's always going to be there subconsciously, and You know, you always tend to lean more towards the games that are like the ones you grew up with, because they fucking, you know, they satisfy your nostalgia boner, but, like, there really needs to be more issues with a game than just, it's different. At least that's how I feel, right? People are gonna have different opinions for all kinds of different reasons. I just really think that the one that stems solely from a game being different is a very closed-minded way of thinking, and I think you need to open your mind a little bit. Okay? A closed-minded society has caused a lot of problems over the years. It's time for us to open our minds, expand our horizons. Okay? Not everything has to be exactly the same. In fact, that would be very, very boring. Individuality is beautiful. Embrace it. But, yeah. I'm gonna end this before I get too political. This is the Gothic Gaming Geek signing out. Have a good one.